Alright, so I'm going to continue on with Sachin's article, which is one of the additional quests for the event involving Dory. Now, I didn't actually start off over there because the waypoint's like right next to it, and I didn't want it to trigger it, so I'm just going to go over there now and see what it does. Okay, didn't trigger it again, so that's fine. Well, well, if it isn't Traveler and Paimon, yet again. I have the latest update on the Academia Extravaganza. Would you like to hear it? How much is it? It's free. Isn't Lord Shangama Bay generous? Do you guys remember Sachin? The guy who sponsored the Academia Extravaganza. Paimon heard that the prize money and Diadem of Knowledge came from him. Bingo! In fact, not long ago, when I was doing business in the desert, I met an old businessman. And guess what I got from him? A dealer's ledger. With it, I can avoid dangerous areas in the desert and go to more places. Of course, the most important thing is that the ledger mentions Sachin. It turned out that Sachin had been to the desert to investigate the people's local conditions and customs. He also had cordial exchanges with the traveling merchants in the desert. Much of the text is lost, but this is a first-hand account of the big sponsor behind the Academia Extravaganza. Would you like a look? Okay, let's have a look then. The sandstorms are raging. The caravan has stalled. We ran into a scholar calling himself Sachin. He said he could sponsor the caravan, provided that we... This is a trial of human nature, betrayal, plunder. There was nothing we could do. No one could withstand. If I could do it all over again, I would never have taken that money. Then they wouldn't have had to die, and I wouldn't be living like this. A fate worse than death. People are the most terrifying animals in this world. This is all hard to understand. Dory, what does this all mean? It means that he was up to something really shady and sus. That's what it means. What does this all mean? I'm afraid that if you need it analyzed, it'll cost you an extra million more. Forget it then. Well, since you're not paying, that'll be all for Dory's special news. But let me give you a hint. There should be someone here who's been to a lot of Academia Extravaganzas. Perhaps you could talk to them? Where? All the way over here? In Aru Village? The only thing I can think of are village keepers. Alas, seeing these young children, I can't help but reminisce about the past. The Inter-Darshan Championship has always been a stage for young talent. Unfortunately, not every genius will be successful eventually. Why do you say that? Geniuses are mostly stubborn and cold, and find it hard to understand the pain of others. That's definitely Al-Haytham at times. I mean, I think he can, but he just shuts it out. Empathetic people, on the other hand, often fall into self-doubt and depression. Kaveh! People who are not firm can only stand still, while people who are determined but walk down the wrong path refuse to look back. There's a lot to think about here. Over there. For this year's Inter-Darshan Championship, my favorite has to be Sino. Aside from his skills as the General Mahamatra, looking back at the tournament's history, the Spantamad Darshan has the highest percentage of champions. Many people say that the Spantamad Darshan produces many talented people, such as Cyrus, Rushkika, Lisa, Sino. The brighter the talent, the sooner the game will lose its suspense. The most exciting competition was still 20 years ago. At that time, my friend, who also participated in the game, and I went there to cheer for him. The last round was played in a Vidya forest. In the end, no one dared to approach them, and no one knew what was going on in the depths of the forest. Then I heard the academy shut down the competition. Later, the Interdarjan Championship removed many of the events in which people fought to the death, discouraging people from being desperate enough to do so. What is your friend like? Let me think. He's honest and kind, but he's also vulnerable and sensitive. Most of all, he cares about us. When we drink together, our time is filled with laughter and cheer. It's just too bad that it's all in the past now. Among the friends we drank with, some died, some disappeared, some now live in seclusion. They say fate is fickle. Perhaps it's true. Looks like something did happen 20 years ago. Right. Didn't Wequas say that, or tell us to seek him out if we had any questions? Now that we have time, why don't we ask him? Uh, well, I guess I have to do the suspicions aroused now because that's a thing.
It feels like something's been on your mind this entire time.
That white-haired man I saw before the competition started.
Traveler, Paimon. I finally found you.
Finally? Did something happen?
Don't you feel like there's something off about this year's Academia extravaganza? When Candace and I were at the cafe earlier, we might have caught sight of some mercs on business. Thing is, they were disguised as tourists here to shop. But no disguise can mask the stench of blood. Just from their suspicious looks, I bet they do dirty work like kidnapping or assassinations.
We eavesdropped on them for a while. Their target seems to be someone called Sachin.
Sachin? Isn't that the person who Karina mentioned during the opening ceremony? He's apparently the sponsor behind the competition prizes and the Diadem of Knowledge, but he hasn't shown himself at all.
Sounds like a rich person, all right. It makes sense now. The Eremites have been struggling to make ends meet recently, so a lot of groups have been doing private work that involves the rich. In their words, one gig sets you up for half a year. Just one job like this nets them enough mora to take it easy for a while.
The extravaganza has brought many tourists to Sumeru City all at once, so it's likely that they took advantage of the bustle to sneak in. Dia and I wanted to directly capture them, but they were on guard and made some excuse to slip away.
I would have tied him up if it wouldn't have caused a scene. Who's legally supposed to take care of this kind of thing? The Matra or the Core of 30?
I think the core 30 in this case.
If Sino were here, he'd definitely get involved. Why don't we head over to the Academia and tell Amatra? Thanks a million, you two.
Not at all. It was coincidence on our part as well.
Yeah, don't sweat it. The Eremites' reputation is gonna get even worse if these scumbags succeed. But this is Sumeru City. Candace and I don't have as much freedom to act here, so we're leaving this in your hands.
Should you require our aid, come find us at the cafe.
Paimon's noticed that something's bugging you. Is it the extravaganza? 'Cause Paimon's starting to think that there's more than meets the eye here, too. But thinking like this isn't doing anything. Let's just go find Amatra.
Okay, so I think... No. Oh, nope, I still have to do that. Okay, then.
Keep up.
Hey, isn't that the Matra we investigated Siraj with? Arav, wasn't it? Let's go talk to him.
Hello, both. It's been a while. Do you have any issues to report? Someone's planning to kidnap Sachin. Goodness. Though I suppose it's not all that surprising. The growing popularity of the extravaganza has given him quite the reputation boost as its sponsor. He's seen as one of these super rich types.
Well, since he's got a target on his back now, shouldn't you send some people to protect him?
To tell you the truth, we've thought about doing just that. However, Sachin apparently prefers to spend most of his time out doing field work, and hardly ever comes back to Sumeru City. No one has been able to contact him. Our only lead is something he once said. Each time the Inter-Darshan Championship is held, I will be watching from close by to choose a suitable person to inherit my estate. Assuming he remains committed to that promise, then he must be right here in the city somewhere. I suspect that the Eremites in question must have heard about that as well, and decided to come here and try their luck.
So, they shouldn't know where Sachin is either, right?
I would assume not. Anyway, Mahamatra Saino is still on vacation, so I'll handle this. Don't you worry. A couple of kidnappers aren't gonna get very far in Sumeru City these days. I have my ways of forcing them out into the open. All of that said, if you're interested in Sachin's story, why don't you try tracking him down as well? The sooner we ascertain his whereabouts, the quicker we can act to ensure his safety. I mean, you could task all the Matra and the whole Corps of 30 with someone's protection, but if the client doesn't show themselves, there's nothing we can do to help them.
Fair point. Guess we should start searching for him too, but where should we start?
Do the Matra have any information at all on Sachin?
None, I'm afraid. He's never committed any crimes or broken academic protocol, so we don't have a very detailed file on him. I've heard that Alhaitham has now stepped down from his post as acting Grand Sage and is back to being the scribe again. Maybe it's worth checking to see if he knows anything.
Good idea! Okay, we'll head back to the extravaganza venue and see if we can find him.
That would be the reason why he had that look during the dialogue earlier.
Hey, Nilu, have you seen Alhaitham anywhere?
Alhaitham? Why, what is it?
We're trying to track down someone and we need him to pull up some records for us.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I don't know where he went. He's always the first to leave after the competition ends, and he never tells anyone where he'll be going.
Huh. Yeah, actually, that sounds about right for him.
Let me think. To be honest, he doesn't seem very interested in the extravaganza, so he probably doesn't stick around longer than he has to. To him, being a commentator is just extra work he was roped into. Do you guys know of any places he'd go after work?
Maybe he went home.
Ooh, maybe. Paimon remembers that his house isn't that far from here, so we might as well check it out. Let's try knocking. No answer? Maybe no one's home. Hello? Alhaitham? Are you in? We need your help with something.
Oh, it's you two?
Oh, Kaveh, you're home.
Come on in, I'll get the door for you.
We didn't hear a peep when we first knocked. We thought no one was home.
Well, I can't be too careful. If someone from the academia came here looking for Alhaitham, and I opened the door for them without thinking, before long the whole city would know that I'm living here.
You're pretty conscientious about this, huh? So, what happens if someone comes inside looking for him while you're at home?
It's fine, as long as I stay in my own room. Anyway, why would someone just barge in here looking for him? Most people have better things to do.
Fair enough. So do you know where he is at the moment?
What do you think? Who knows what he does in his free time? All that matters to me is that he's out of the house.
Did you have a quarrel or something?
I wouldn't call it that. He's just incapable of saying anything pleasant at all. I told him how the second round went. I won the lot draw, remember? Because of good karma, of course. My luck's on the rise. But him, being him... Oh, you wouldn't believe what he said after I was done talking! You're always quick to remind me that you're my upperclassman, and yet you do not problem solve in the manner becoming of an upperclassman. This begs the question of why we attach prestige to seniority at all. What does he mean, manner becoming of an upperclassman? What, am I supposed to earn the title of upperclassman now? And he didn't stop there. He said, I'd encourage you to reflect on why you've ended up having to rely on luck every round. Frankly, it's incomprehensible to me how you've managed to make it to this age without acknowledging the proverbial elephant in the room of your life.
I mean, I think he might be talking of the fact that you're gullible and fall into things easily. Like the whole thing he mentioned before where you gave away your money for a scheme.
Yeah, that does sound like something Alhaitham would say.
I've had it with him. Every time I talk to him, it's the same way. He finds a way to infuriate me every single time. Anyway, the disdain is very much mutual between us, so I'll be moving out as soon as possible. I'm actually packing my things right now. He'll have to get used to doing his own cleaning and tidying from now on. See those perfectly hung paintings on the walls? They're coming with me too. If his life wasn't utterly devoid of artistic sensibility already, it certainly will be after today.
I don't think Alhaitham really cares.
Wait, you're moving out already? But the competition isn't even over yet. How can you afford it?
Well, obviously I can't just yet. I'm just packing early to get ahead of the game. I've got my new place picked out already. The moment I have my hands on the prize money, I'm going to buy it and move my things right in. It'll take me 3 days tops to move out of here for good. I now know what I have to do to achieve this goal. No matter what happens in the third round, I will win. I will emerge triumphant. You'll see.
Well, we'll be rooting for you. But are you sure you'll be alright?
In what way?
Layla said that she thinks you'll get caught up in internal conflict.
Meaning what exactly? Oh, don't tell me you think I have serious personality flaws too.
Oh, we didn't say that. But think about it. You say you want to win, but you also turned Farozan down when she offered to give you her points. Plus, you took it upon yourself to help those desert foxes.
Wait, what's so unusual about all that? I gave you my reasons. I would have felt guilty otherwise. Where's the conflict in that?
Why would you feel guilty?
Well, when you put it like that, yes, why indeed? It's a good question. I guess it's just in my nature. Plus, if I just did nothing, then there'd be no escaping the blame if something bad came of it later down the line.
But thinking like that all the time must make your life so exhausting. Not to mention that by helping out, you put yourself at risk. Fainting in the middle of the desert, for example. Was that really worth it?
It's complicated. Look, let's maybe leave this conversation for another time. What was it you needed Alhaitham's help with, anyway?
We'd like him to help us look into Sachin.
Sachin? Huh. He did actually mention a Sachin recently. I remember he brought a few documents home that day. He was thinking out loud as he looked through them, making some notes and doodling as he went. He even suggested that I should take a look, but I didn't. Give me a moment. Let me go find them.
You know, in honesty, I didn't think I'd go into Alhaitham's house a second time without doing his story quest.
Ah, this is the one. Here, take it.
You sure he'd be okay with this?
With taking liberties? He's certainly okay with helping himself to my beer whenever he pleases. And anyway, he did ask me if I wanted to read his notes. I didn't see the point at the time, so he just left them on the side. He doesn't leave documents lying around unless he's okay with other people reading them. It's fine, I promise.
Cool, if you say so. Okay, let's see what he's got on Sachin.
Oh, he set them on the table. Okay, Sachin was born to a wealthy family, and his father, Rajput, was a renowned merchant in Sumeru, with many properties to his name. At the age of 9, Sachin enrolled into Brahmana and achieved excellent grades. At the age of 15, he completed all of his courses and graduated first in class. His accomplishments greatly lauded by the sages. At the age of 16, Sachin ventured out and began to research the local environment and customs. His travels took him throughout Sumeru's rainforests and deserts. When Sachin was 23 years old, his father, Rajput, passed away. Sachin returned to Sumeru City to take over his father's business and spent 2 years there. At the age of 25, Sachin again ventured into the desert to conduct field research. Records show that he traveled with a caravan and lived in Ara village for a period of time. At the age of 32, Sachin returned to Sumeru City. He looked withered and weary, his mental state in shambles. Much speculation arose amongst outsiders, but Sachin locked himself in his room and did not respond. At the age of 33, Sachin entrusted all of his properties to the academia and pledged to donate all proceeds to the academia. He then wrote a contract regarding the use of the proceeds and property ownership. The following is an excerpt quoted from Sachin when the contract was signed. A minimum of 30% of all revenue generated from the business will be used to fund prizes for the International Championship, which will encourage young prodigies to actively participate in the competition. I will also be donating my entire collection, the most prominent item of which, the Diadem of Knowledge, will serve as a symbol of great honor in the International Championship. Only the winner of the championship may wear it. In addition, the Academia is only given the right to maintain and manage my properties. Ownership of them does not belong to the Academia, nor does it belong to me. Each year, when the International Championship is held, I will keep a close eye on each candidate. If I particularly identify with a participant, I will reveal myself. I will then bequeath all of my wealth to this individual whom I judge worthy of my acknowledgement. They will have the usage rights to all assets and proceeds under my name. I hope the Academia will respect any and all decisions made by that person. After the contract came into effect, Sachin returned to the desert to continue his investigations, but there has been no word from him since then. Many claim to have seen him in the desert, but none of such claims have been verified. 20 years have passed since then.
That was a lot of information. Paimon's getting a headache. So, to sum up, Sachin put the academia in charge of managing his estate and went off to do research, right? He even said that if he really liked one of the contestants, he wouldn't just give them a reward, but his entire estate as well. Oh, that must be worth heaps and heaps of mora.
What? Are you serious? All of Sachin's wealth, that's more than I could spend in a lifetime, surely. Heck, if I got chosen, I'd be able to pay off all my debts, then buy a new place, and still have cash to burn.
I wouldn't burn the cash, both literally and figuratively.
I could build another Palace of Alcazar's array, except this time I'd make it 10 times bigger.
Stop right there. That's what got you into trouble the first time.
Oh, then there's that new project in Port Ormos, of course. The bridge renovation. To do it properly would take upwards of...
Hey, snap out of it! You're getting way ahead of yourself there, mister.
You're right. First I need to focus on winning and moving out of this place.
Huh? Wait a moment. There's a loose slip of paper tucked in between these pages. Did Alhaitham write this? It looks like he was jotting ideas down as he was thinking things over. Let's see. Two phrases have been circled. Sachin, dead or alive, unknown. And diadem of knowledge. Some of this stuff is just plain incomprehensible. Is this written in some other language?
Let me see. Huh. I recognize this script. Give me a second. Lofty ideals may provide no defense at all against nihilism, but perhaps little decisions can. That's a rough translation anyway. I can't guarantee it's 100% accurate. There's another smaller line of text underneath. Why would he bring that up?
Wow, it's so cool that you can actually read this script!
We worked together on a project once when we were students. The title was Decoding the Runes and Architectural Philosophy of the Ruins of King Deshret's Civilization. I had to familiarize myself a little with this script at the time.
Oh, interesting. So, any idea what Alhaitham meant by all this?
Who knows? The way his mind works is one of the great mysteries of the world.
Fair enough. Well, guess we've learned all we can here.
Let's hope Arav made some progress.
Yeah, he better catch those crooks. But until then, let's just head out for a stroll.
Okay, so that's now complete, which means I can go back to the other one I was working on now.
Keep up.
You weren't even part of the thing. You were just a bystander. That incident from 20 years ago? Why the sudden question? Did you hear any particular information? We've heard that the diadem seems to have been lost 20 years ago, and some contestants' personality has changed. You seem to know a lot about that. Class, is there something you're not telling us? Not exactly. I was 5 years old when it happened. How could I know? But there are things I've never told anyone. I'm actually part of the Academia Extravaganza's planning committee because of the influence of a senior colleague. That senior colleague and I met on a trip. He was a bit timid and would always flee and cower somewhere at the first sign of an emergency. One day, 4 years ago, I said to him, I want to go back to the Academia. The Academia Extravaganza is about to begin. And then, upon mentioning the Academia Extravaganza, he got startled and said something about, it has nothing to do with me. When I said goodbye to him, he insisted on getting a drink with me. After several drinks, he started talking all sorts of nonsense. I also had too many, and in my drunken stupor, I didn't really hear him that well. I remember that he said that he lost the diadem of knowledge for a while. He was in charge of the distribution and recovery of the diadem of knowledge, and that he nearly had a heart attack upon realizing that the diadem was missing. Fortunately, he finally found it in a tree hollow, like the one we saw before. He said that the diadem of knowledge is a very valuable treasure, which is recorded in many ancient books. Legend has it that it was built by a famous craftsman in ancient times and carries a secret that no one knows. Sachin had entrusted the academia to safeguard the diadem. After all, if my senior was responsible for the diadem's appearance, he could not afford to pay for it with his meager wealth. Even if the loss was temporary, no one would know of it, lest the academia find him guilty of gross negligence. So he covered it up. Yes, it seems that he also said that many people came to inquire about it, including children, but he said that the diadem had never been lost. But he was so scared that when things blew over, he quit his job and left the academia. I drank too much that night, and when I woke up the next day, he was gone. The more I thought about it, the more I had a bad feeling that issues would crop up in the Academia Extravaganza if I entrusted to someone like him. I didn't have a job at the time, so I joined the Academia Extravaganza planning committee. I tried to investigate things on the inside too, but I couldn't find anything. And the diadem was found, and the man whose personality was said to have changed was dead, and there was nothing to be found. Still, 20 years is still a long time, long enough that the people involved from the beginning no longer remember nor care. That's all I know. If you're curious, keep investigating, and maybe one day you'll discover the truth. That's easy for you to say. We don't have much to go on. Do you have any more information, like where the senior colleague went? I haven't heard from him. Yeah, that's all he says. I haven't heard from him. Later, I also went to the desert to look for him, but in the vast desert, it was almost impossible to run into him. To make up for it, I do have some information on Sachin. Or Sachin. Sachin? Whatever. Would you like to hear it? Sure, tell us. When I was traveling, I did so with an Aramite commander. While we were chatting, he said he came into possession of an article written by an academia researcher. He seemed to think it was something precious and refused to show it to anyone, only to let me peek at it at my request. I only caught a glimpse of it, but I saw that it was signed by Sachin. I didn't know who Sachin was, nor did I care. After joining the Academia Extravaganza's planning committee, I found out that he was an important member of the Vahamana Darshan who sponsored the event. If you're interested, you can find the Aramite commander in the desert. He's usually in the Valley of Darai. Information related to Sachin. Alright, let's go take a look. Stop. What do you want? Whoa, this guy looks real fierce. Either say your piece or leave. I have no time for you. Actually, we heard that you have Sachin's article on you, so we were wondering if we could have a look. Are you kidding me? No, why would you ask that? It seems like you guys really don't know. Some time ago, I had the article appraised. Turns out it's nothing more than a personal travel journal, and is of little value. He hired my father to keep him safe. That Sachin fellow would often walk, ask, write, and mumble. There was one time his papers were blown away by the wind. He said it was no big deal. My father, however, thought that things written by intellectuals must be valuable, so he looked around for them at night with a torch. None among my family can read. My father cherished this article and then passed it on to me. I had no idea it was completely worthless. Sounds unfortunate, but do you still have it? Yes. You want to have a look? You can look at it as much as you want. Since it's not worth anything, there's no need for me to be so stingy. Okay. Once the gods reigned supreme. All life flocked to them like sheep seeking shepherds, and those who suffered did so in silence. Now divine power has dwindled while human wisdom has blossomed. However, those who suffer face suffering still. There is a saying in Liyue that goes, "Life is like lodging at an inn," and in Inazuma all things are but void. It hurts every time I read these words. I try to seek the reason for this. The wheel of time turns, and the only constant throughout Sumeru history is human nature. Since arriving in the desert, I have conducted a total of 64 experiments over the course of 7 years. Men are like prisoners or captured animals, feeding on each other's happiness until one is doomed to eternal torment. Therefore, where there is gain, there must be loss. Where there is happiness, there is agony. Everyone is a victim, but everyone is also a perpetrator. Greed and numbness reside in the heart of humanity. Driven by greed, humans choose to commit evil, and numbness is why they turn a blind eye to the evil of others. But if this is what the world is, what is, then, the meaning of the world? The future is to the present as the present is to the past. Peace was never an option. Conflict is the eternal truth. Everything, from my knowledge, my wisdom, to my life, is but nothingness. So this is the article that Sachin wrote? To be honest, Paimon can make sense of any of it. But judging from the crummy handwriting, Paimon can't say exactly why, but Paimon has the feeling he was going through a tough time. Well, we're done reading it. Thank you very much. You're welcome. It's not worth any money, but I'm going to keep it anyway. After all, my father entrusted it to me. Come see me again if you want to look at it again. Alright, so that's it for that, I believe. Yep, that's the end of that. And so, since that's the end of the Parade of Providence quest line, besides the main story event, I'll call it here for now, and I'll see you guys later.